Hey everybody, today's class is really focused on the core. We're going to use the core in planking and in a number of other exercises that are weight bearing on the upper body. So we're also going to be building a fair bit of upper body strength. Really quickly, I just want to share that it is my belief, shared by many others who study anatomy, that the core, which is this entire midsection that we have here, is very much directly connected to everything that goes on in your shoulders and everything that goes on in your hips. So when we think about the core, we don't necessarily want to think about it as an isolated part of the body. We want to think about it in relation to the upper and lower bodies as well. So you'll see a lot of exercises that incorporate upper and lower body strength, but that are still very much driven by what happens in the core, as really is all movement. So if you ever have any questions, please feel free to drop me a message. You know, you can drop it in Vimify, or you can contact me on Facebook or via email. I love answering questions, especially when it comes to anatomy and alignment, so feel free to stay in touch. So as I said, today we're going to be focusing very heavily on the core and how the core relates to planking and other similar exercises. So we will warm up. We'll start on our backs. And you'll notice throughout the class pack that we have some similarities in terms of our warm-ups. There are some exercises that I just believe are very important for warming up the core and the spine. So any way you want to be, to begin, we're just going to breathe. You can stretch yourself out long. You can stay with the knees bent. Whatever is comfortable for you. Just relax into your mat. Starting to draw the focus with more and more purpose to the breath. And today we're going to breathe a little bit differently than we have been in other classes. It's really not that different in the long term, but our focus is a little bit different. So take a moment and just visualize the fact that our core muscles are on all four sides of our body and that they run all the way from the chest into the pelvis. So think for a moment about your front body and the fact that the core muscles run all the way down from that chest into that pelvis. Think about your right and your left sides. And think about the fact that we have core muscles that flank the entire side of each side of the body. And then take a minute just to think about your back and how expansive your back is. There are so many muscles in your back, and all those muscles are connected to what the core does. They're part of that core. So visualize from the shoulder blades all the way down your back and into your pelvis. So our goal today when we breathe is to try to activate as many of those muscles as we possibly can. So when we inhale and exhale through the nose, we want to really be thinking about stimulating the core with our breathing. So as we inhale, we feel all those muscles of the core expand. And as we exhale, you want to think about the muscles coming from all four directions and hugging your spine. Nice and snug, like a big, huge bear hug that somebody would give you. So there's a lot of love in every exhale here. We're just going to practice this deep, active core breath until it starts to become a little bit more intuitive. This, I feel, is sometimes harder than any pose that we can do in yoga, is just to get the breathing comfortable. So give yourself a lot of grace. Know that it takes time. And the most important thing is obviously to breathe. So continue to give your spine those nice big bear hugs with every exhale. Just place your palms face down on the floor. Arms are in at our sides. Go ahead and bend your knees. Place your feet flat on the floor if you weren't already there. Feet are about hip or sitting bone distance apart, so remember, just a little bit more narrow than the width of your actual hips. Whole foot is planted on the floor and we bridge. Let's take an inhale as we roll up. And then a big exhale as we roll down. I'm actually going to change that. I'm going to have us take an entire breath to come up. So a nice inhale, exhale, and then an entire breath to roll down. And what we're focusing on right now is the articulation. So as you roll up, you're peeling your spine away from the floor, from the base of it all the way to just underneath your neck at the base of your shoulders. And then when you roll down, you're just rolling it down in reverse. So we're going through a little scoop, rounding the spine as we roll up. But then at the top, we have that moment where we press the hips up and feel a little bit of an arc in the back. And then we round as we roll back down. Let's just do that one more time. Full breath as we roll up. And full breath as we roll down. Good. When you get to the bottom, just take a moment to really lengthen out the front of your core. So if you tuck and round, you'll notice that those muscles get extra tight and kind of bunchy. If we arch, we notice that the core muscles on the front side, at least, aren't really working at all. They can't engage in an arched position. So we try to find that middle ground, that neutral spine, where everything feels long, but it feels engaged, and we can take that deep bear hug of a core breath here. And then we're just going to rock our lower half side to side. You can keep your arms at your sides, or you can widen your arms out, whichever works best for you. And if you like, you can inhale as you come through center and exhale on the rock. We're just going to do this a few more times. So one more time in each direction. And then go ahead and come to center. You can either rock up to seated or roll to one side and press yourself up. And then we're going to flip it around and come to all fours. So we have the wrists right underneath the shoulders and the knees right underneath the hips for cat-cow. Let's inhale as we arc and exhale as we round. Inhaling as we arc and exhaling as we round. And you may remember from other classes that here we want this movement to be very driven by the core muscles. So as we round into cat, the whole front side of the body contracts. And as we arc into cow, the whole back side of the body contracts. But the bonus is that in each pose, the opposite of the contracting side gets a stretch. Let's make this our last cat. And then we find neutral, which is right in between cat-cow, where the spine feels nice and long. And again, your core muscles should feel long and engaged. And we're going to go into spinal balance. So we take one arm, opposite leg. Inhale, reach. Exhale, return to the mat. Other side. Inhale, reach. Exhale, return to the mat. Remember that you want to try to keep your weight centered between the right and the left sides, so you're not shifting from side to side, staying in the center. So that requires that deep core breath to keep us stable. Inhale, reach. Exhale, return. We're going to go one more time, each side. Staying right in the center. Good. And then you're going to come to that first side, extend out and hold. Keep breathing. So your weight is centered between your right hand and your left knee. We're going to inhale, small cow, a little arc of the spine. Exhale, round into cat and draw your limbs in. Inhale as you reach and arc. Exhale as you round and draw in. So if this feels really unstable, take the hand down and focus first on moving with the leg, but try to keep very little weight in your left hand and a lot of weight in your right hand. We're going to do one more on this side. Inhaling as we arc. Exhaling as we scoop and round. Then stretch it out and simply bring it to the mat. And let's take a quick child's pose. So hips to heels. One deep inhale. One deep exhale. And then back up to all fours. Take a moment to really elongate the spine, feel the core engaged, and then let's take it on that second side. So let's extend out to the spinal balance. That's where we start, weight distributed between the left hand and the right knee. And then we inhale, little arc. Exhale, scoop and round. Inhale, reach and arc. Exhale, scoop and round. The deeper we breathe and the more the breath engages the core, the easier it is to balance. Remember, if you need to, take the arm down and focus on working with the leg and the spine, but as little weight in that right hand as possible. Good. Let's do one more on this side. And then we lengthen out on an in-breath. Exhale, bring the limbs down. And again, find child's pose. This is your chance to rest. You can pause this video anytime if you need a little break for your shoulders or your wrists. Take a few deep breaths here. We're getting a little bit of a longer rest. And then we're going to come back up again to all fours. Make sure those wrists are right underneath your shoulders. The knees are right underneath your hips. Pick that first side, that original side for spinal balance. So this time we're staying in the neutral. And on the inhale, the limbs are going to sweep outward in their respective directions. And then on the exhale, they come right back into where they started. Inhale, we sweep out. Exhale, we sweep in. So your limbs are like windshield wipers going in opposite directions. We want to try to keep them parallel to the floor as best we can. We're going to do 2 more on this side. Inhaling as we sweep. Exhaling as we return. We have 1 more. Good, and then let's inhale here. Exhale, bring the limbs down. Let's take that 1 breath, child's pose. So deep inhale, deep exhale, and to all 4s. Sometimes you might hear me exhale through my mouth. It gives you a little bit of extra release when you're resting, so feel free to do it too. Just let your body kind of out of it for a moment. So let's take that second side, lengthen out, and then windshield wipers. We inhale, sweep open, exhale, sweep in. Inhale, sweep open, exhale, sweep in. Just like with the previous exercise, if you want to, take the hand out of it and focus on sweeping the leg, but again, keep as little weight in the hand that would be doing the sweeping as possible. Let's do 1 more. Inhaling as we sweep out. Exhaling as we come in. Then inhale, hold, stretch. Exhale, release down. And then rock it back for a longer child's pose. And if you like, you can gently shift yourself side to side in this child's pose. Release perhaps a little bit of tension in your low back and your hips. And then if you want to try one of those exhales through the mouth, let's come to center. Let's take a deep inhale. And then just exhale through your mouth and melt. Maybe you need to do that 1 more time. Good. And then we are going to come down onto our bellies. So we're going to start in Sphinx pose. So what you're going to do is come up to your forearms. So your elbows are right underneath your shoulders. Hands are palms flat on the floor, middle finger pointing to the top edge of your mat. So very first thing we want to think about before we do anything else, I'll tuck my shirt in so that you can see it really well, is we never want to collapse into this position. Let the belly spill into the mat and overarch the low back. So the very first thing you want to do is think about pulling your belly up into your back, into your spine. Just a little bit. It should feel much better on your low back. Then the next thing we think about is pressing the earth away with the forearms. So the shoulders move down away from the ears and the neck is long. Now your feet are about, or your legs are about hip distance apart. And what you're going to do is peel yourself up off the floor from your pelvis through your thighs. So if you want to watch first, it's going to look like this until we're in a little hover and the spine is kind of parallel to the floor. And then we're going to slowly roll back down, but we're not going to release the belly. The belly stays lifted. So it is an exhale as we peel up and an inhale as we release the hips down, not the belly, just the hips. Keep pressing the earth away with the forearms. And I don't know if you can see it in the video, but this makes me shake. And it should make you shake too, because you're really having to trigger those core muscles to lift you up. And you can see how small it is. It's not super big. We're just going to do 1 more. Exhale as we come to that hover. Inhale as we come down. And then hands underneath the forehead and a quick rest for the body. So this is where you get to soften your body into the mat and relax. And let's take a few really nice big deep breaths here. Let the shoulders relax. You could also bring your arms to your sides and just turn your head to one side. Relax that way. And then we're going to come up and we're going to visit a forearm plank. So bring your hands opposite your chest. Gently press yourself up. And then let's come to our forearms and our knees to start. So bring the elbows down right underneath the shoulders, about shoulder width apart. You can either clasp your hands or flip your palms down to the floor like they were before. Everybody's going to have a different preference. So even though my spine is now on an incline, it's still neutral. I'm not tucking and rounding, nor am I arching my tailbone straight up toward the ceiling. So you should feel your shoulders, or your chest rather, sitting right in between your shoulders. And all we're going to do to start is we're going to move the chest down about an inch. You're going to feel your shoulder blades move inward. And then we're going to press the chest back up, shoulder blades move apart. So we inhale, chest down, shoulder blades move inward. And we exhale, press up, shoulder blades move apart. It is a very small movement. Inhale on the down, exhale on the up. One more, just like this. So this is option one. If you want to build strength in your upper body, this is where you would stay for a while. Let's take a quick child's pose, reaching those arms out in front of us, maybe pressing the underarms toward the floor. We'll stretch out that area that we just targeted. So if you want to stay in all fours, please feel free to stay in all fours. We're coming back to the forearms. Option two, once we have those elbows right underneath the shoulders, is to walk the knees back, pulling the feet up toward the hips, and then lining the spine up parallel to the floor. So we're in a knee plank position. And then we do exactly the same thing. We lower the chest about an inch, shoulder blades come toward each other. And then we lift the chest back up, pressing the shoulder blades apart. Inhale as you lower, and exhale as you lift. Now, you don't want to lift so high that you end up with a rounding or a little hump happening. So it's tiny. The spine stays really long, and we just focus on that down an inch. Visualize what an inch looks like on a ruler. Up an inch. Let's do two more. Inhale and exhale. We're going to do one more. And then we'll take child's pose. So again, if it feels good for you, feel free to really walk those arms out in front of you. Press the underarms toward the floor and feel the shoulder blades draw away from center. Relax your neck as well. So you can do it in the all fours one more time. You can do it in plank on the knees, or if you like, we can take a full plank for the last round. So we're going to come back up. Elbows go back underneath the shoulders. If you want to come to full plank, you're going to walk it back onto the balls of your feet, and then you're going to shift forward and down until your shoulders are sitting right over your elbows, your spine is parallel to the floor, and your core is engaged. And then we inhale down an inch, exhale up an inch, inhale down an inch, exhale up an inch, inhale and exhale. Breathe those deep core breaths where we hug the spine. Let's do two more. Inhale down, exhale up. Let's do one more. And then knees come down and we find child's pose. And if you want to, this time wrap your arms around your body so your hands come back by your feet. Rest the forehead on the mat and just let your arms and your shoulder blades fall open. So the nice thing about these sequences is if you're in the process of building plank strength right now, stay in one of the earlier versions and you know you have something to build toward. And that way these classes have value for a long time. Let's take one more deep breath here. And then we're going to come onto our side. So we're going to come onto our left side. And you're going to take your elbow, coming to the forearm again, right underneath your shoulder, or just a hair on the outside. What you want to avoid is tucking your elbow underneath you, which can be really harmful on your shoulder. So make sure you're either lined up directly or your elbow's just a little bit outside the shoulder. Both knees are bent to start, and we're just going to take the same approach we did with the Sphinx, where you press the earth away with your elbow, and what that's going to do is help you release your shoulder away from your ear. It's also going to lift you through your center, so we're not here totally disengaged, but we're lifted and the core is already working. So we're going to reach the free arm up toward the ceiling and breathe that deep core breath. So again, if you wanted to build into plank, side plank in this case, this is a wonderful place to start, where you're always pressing that energy down through the elbow and lifting through your center. Here's our add-on. We're just going to lift the hips up a few inches. You should feel the underside, so that left side body really fire up here. And then we're going to take the hips and we're going to lower them down 2 inches, come up 2 inches. Inhale and exhale. Option just to hold and build strength. Again, we always have progress. We always have somewhere to go with this. Let's do 2 more. If it hurts your neck to look up, you can always look forward. Last one. And then let's come down and just gently come off the arm and roll the shoulder a few times. So that's option 1. Feel free to stay with that. Option 2, we come back to the forearm. Elbows back underneath that shoulder again. Press the elbow into the earth. Lift through the center. And then take your top leg and reach it out long. Lift the hips, lift the arm, and then we go down 2 inches, up 2 inches, down 2 inches, up 2 inches. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Let's do 2 more. Keep pressing your shoulder away from your ear. Let's do 1 more. And then let's lower all the way down. And once again, let's just come up and roll the shoulder back and the arm back. Roll forward. And then we have 1 more variation. So again, we come down to the forearm. We line everything up. We press and lift. And this time, if you feel like it, you can stagger your legs. So top foot comes in front, bottom front foot comes behind, and then we lift up here. And when you're ready, 5 more times. We inhale down 2 inches, exhale up. Inhale down, exhale up. Breathe deep into your core. Good, we've got 2 more. Inhale and exhale. Last time. Hold it up there, take a big breath in, big breath out, and we'll come down. Let's come back to child's pose. Walk the arms out in front. So the hips stay on top of the heels. And then we're going to walk the upper body to the left. I lied. We're going to walk the upper body to the right. Breathe. Good, now walk to center. Shift the weight up. You're going to thread your left hand underneath the right. Palm is up on that left hand. And then you're going to take your right hand, tent it kind of in front of your face, and then press into those right fingertips to rotate your chest toward the right side. Breathe. And then gently come up. And we'll do that sequence on the other side. So we're simply going to turn ourselves around. You can just flip over if you like. So now you're on your right side. So go ahead and take that elbow underneath the shoulder, or again, a little bit on the outside is okay. Take a moment to really ground down through the elbow, lifting through your center, releasing the shoulder. Option one, we just lift and we hold. If you're breathing deeply into your core, the core is getting strong right here, so there's no need to go any farther until you feel ready. If you like, we're going to lift both hips, and then we're going to take those hips down 2 inches and up 2 inches. Inhale, exhale. Good. Inhale, exhale. So you're working your core, but you're also working your upper body. You're working your shoulder and your back. Let's make this next one our last. So we have one more. And then we release. And let's come up and let's just roll that shoulder. Release it. And then come back down. Option to stick with what we just did or come to phase 2. So set yourself up properly on the upper half. Extend your top leg. And then lift up into that plank position. Good. And when you're ready, hips come down 2 inches and up 2 inches. Inhale, exhale. Awesome. Keep breathing deep into your center. Good. We're going to do 2 more. 1 more. And let's come down and let's release that shoulder. 2 rolls back. 2 rolls forward. And then back down, option to repeat or for phase 3. So setting ourselves up on the top half and then extending both legs. Remember, your top foot is going to come in front. Your bottom foot is going to be behind. Then we're going to lift ourselves up. Engage that core, find your breath, and then down 2 inches and up 2 inches. Inhale, exhale. Think about how all body this is, how much stronger you're getting in any of these variations. I believe we have 1 more. And then remember, we're going to hold it at the top wherever you are. Take that big inhale. Take that big exhale. And then come on down. Good, let's find child's pose. So hips are going to stay on top of the heels, and we'll walk it to the left with the torso. Breathe, big deep breaths. These are releasing breaths. So not quite as core activating, more of a relaxing breath. And then go ahead, come back to center. So shift yourself up. And you're going to thread your right arm underneath your left. So right palm is facing the ceiling. Here, I'll flip this one so you can see it. And then you're going to take the hand that's not being threaded, and you're going to place it right in front of your face, fingertips up, and then you're going to press into that hand, and it's going to allow your shoulder to move backward and your chest to rotate. And we breathe. And then when you are ready, gently bring yourself up. And we're going to come into a seated position. So we're going to start with the knees bent. Feet are flat on the floor. And hopefully you watched the plank tutorials and you remember the L-shaped hands and the placement of the hands. But I'm just going to buzz through it really quickly for a reverse plank. So traditionally, lots of people cue for your middle and index finger to be pointing straight at your pelvis. The problem with this, the more we study anatomy, is that for most of us, we're so tight in the chest that this just forces our shoulders forward and forces us to cave through the chest. So we've decided that there is a better way to place the hands. So that's what we're going to go through really quickly. So just bring your arms out in front of you and make little L's with your thumb and your index finger. So you should see that your hands are slightly rotated out. We don't have the fingers pointing straight up, they're pointing slightly out. All you do is literally sweep your hands back and place them on the floor. And you should naturally have your thumbs pointing to the front edge of your mat and your forefingers are angled out slightly. And that's just much better joint alignment for us. Bring the feet in a little bit so you can press them into the floor. And then just roll your shoulders back and down and open up your chest. So you'll see I have a little bit of softness in my elbows. My chest is open and I'm focusing on lengthening my spine. So this is our option 1 here. We're just going to breathe in through the nose, out through the nose, engaging that core. So it's back to those big, deep bear hug breaths. So again, if you're building strength, you're going to start to feel this just because you're opening up your chest. You're supporting yourself partially on your hands, and you will start to feel this in your arms, in your chest, in your back, in your core. Now, option 1 is simply to elevate the hips a few inches off the floor. And you'll notice when I do that, my shoulders shift slightly forward of my wrists. So I'm going to adjust that so that my shoulders are back over my wrists again. Even though my hips are lower than my knees or my shoulders, my spine is still in neutral. So I'm not arching and dropping my sitting bones down, nor am I tucking and rounding. I'm just nice and long and engaged. And we hold here and we breathe. Deep inhales and deep exhales. As much as possible, the head is in line with the spine. We keep moving those shoulders back and down and keeping the chest open. Let's take one last breath here. And then let's lower the hips to the floor and find a comfortable cross-legged position. And all you're going to do is fold forward and release. Literally let yourself go limp like a rag doll. And breathe. So option 1, stay with it. Either the hips are on the floor, or we go to that little hover, or if you're ready, let's move on to option 2. So we come back up, feet go back to the floor, sit up nice and tall, find your L's, sweep your hands back behind you, roll the shoulders back and down, open up the chest, and lengthen your spine. Make sure the feet are close enough to you that you can actually push them into your mat, and then simply lift your hips up toward the ceiling. Now you should, roughly speaking, have your shoulders over your wrists and your knees right over your heels. If you need to, you can adjust a little bit like you saw me do. Head can be in line with the spine, or you can bring a little nod where you take your chin toward your chest. Just don't crunch your chin into your chest. And we hold here and we breathe. We're building a lot of strength. You'll feel this now in your legs as well. Let's take one more breath here. And relax, release. Find that cross-legged position, maybe with the opposite leg on top or in front. And then fold forward, limp ragdoll, relax, and breathe. So we have one more variation of the reverse plank to play with. And then we'll add one little bell and whistle to it if you choose in any of the positions. So come on up. Now you can repeat anything we just did, as you know, or if you like, you can extend your legs out in front of you for full reverse plank. So really quickly, never parallel legs here. It's going to put a lot of pressure on your knees. Always a little bit turned out or externally rotated, so that when you come up, you're on the outer edges of your feet. Find your L's, sweep your hands back, open up the shoulders and the chest, lengthen the spine, And then when you're ready, in any position that you've chosen, just press those hips up toward the ceiling or keep them at the low hover, whatever works best for you. Again, head can be in line with the spine, or you can take that little nod forward, and we breathe. Deep, deep breaths into the core. Now, here's your little bell and whistle if you want it, and you may not want it yet, and that's okay. We bend the elbows down an inch, up an inch, down an inch, up an inch. You'll see that I'm not dropping my hips. My hips are still lifted, even if it's just the hover. And we're just moving into those triceps a little bit. We have 2 more. We have 1 more. And then we hold at the top. Take a big inhale. Take a big exhale. And down. You can keep your legs long, extended in front of you, or come back to cross-legged. And we're just going to round forward. Release and breathe. So our upper body and our core, and even a little bit of lower body, have already gotten a lot of work. We're just going to polish off with a little bit of core work on the mat. So let's come down onto our backs. Take a moment, just enjoy it. It's going to feel really good after all of that plank work. And I just want to explain something really quickly. So if we work in a scooped, rounded position, we will be working mainly just the abs and in an unbalanced way, because when we scoop and tuck, our back muscles are being stretched, which means they are not working. So as we've done in other classes, we really want to try to work in a neutral position. So remember, we've done this before. If you take your thumbs to your lower ribs, and you take either the index or the middle finger to the point of the hip bone, and you give yourself a couple rocks, so a little tuck and scoop and a little arch, and you just feel what happens to your core and what happens to these 2 points of reference as you rock. And this is also probably going to feel really good right now on your back. It's a good stretch and a good release. It's just not a good place to be for core work. And then when you're ready after this last arch, remember, you just kind of find that middle ground. So your ribs and your hips are on the same plane. You've got rib cage and pelvis anchored to the floor, but you've got your natural curve in your low back, so there's a little bit of space there. We're not pushing it into the floor. And that way, even though it feels like we're doing ab work for this next sequence, you're really working your whole back, or your whole core, because your back works in neutral, which it does not if you tuck and round. So that's why we're here. So take a moment and let's bring those legs up to tabletop, which we've done before. Now, take your ribs and make sure they are still anchored to the floor. We haven't lifted them up. And then we're going to inhale, reach both legs out on an angle. Exhale, come into that 90-degree bend. Inhale, reach. Exhale, in. Inhale, reach. Exhale, in. Let's do this 2 more times. Legs are parallel. Neck is relaxed. 1 more. Now hold on to the 90 degrees. Make sure both your pelvis and your rib cage are still anchored. And then swing your knees and your thighs open. So basically you've made a diamond shape with your legs. Now, inhale here. Exhale, push out. So we're changing the breath. Inhale, bend. And on the exhale, as you push your legs out, squeeze them together all the way from your inner thighs to your heels. Inhale, bend. Exhale, push and squeeze. Good, let's do 2 more. Inhale, bend. Exhale, push and squeeze. Let's do 1 more. Inhale, bend. Exhale, push out and squeeze. And then inhale, bend, and let's bring the knees up into the chest. And just give ourselves a quick little rock to release. So notice as you're resting how good this feels on your back, which is a pure indication of the fact that if you stayed in neutral, your back just worked a lot. I can feel it for sure. So bring the feet back down to the floor and reset that neutral spine. So ribs and hips are connected to the mat, natural curve at the low back. And let's take the hands behind the head. Let's give ourselves some really wide elbows. And we're just going to start simple. So we inhale here, and on the exhale, we lift the head and shoulders up off the floor. Inhale, lower, and a big exhale as we lift. Now let's start to shift what we're thinking about here. Start to make your head heavier in your hands. Start to breathe deeply into your core. So as you exhale, feel your core contract. Now start to think about the fact that your core is lifting your shoulders and your head. So instead of the movement initiating by us lifting our head and our shoulders, let it initiate from a contraction of the core, which then allows us to lift the head and the shoulders. Let's do that 2 more times. Let's do 1 more. Good. And then let's come down, make sure we're still in neutral, and let's add a twist to it. So head is still super heavy in your hands. Take that inhale, and on the exhale, both lift and twist. Inhale, lower, head is heavy. Exhale, lift and twist. Remember, you're going to start to think about your core initiating the lift and the twist. Your breath helps to initiate the lift and the twist. Good. And we're going to do maybe 3 more sets of this. Exhaling as we come up. Inhaling as we lower. You want to try to keep your hips as quiet as possible. So the twist is happening from the waist upward. Elbows stay nice and wide, and the hands just provide a cradle for the heavy head. Excellent job. Let's do 1 more on each side with a big exhale to come up and a big inhale to come down. Last one. And lower. Awesome. So let's reach the arms out overhead. Reach the legs out in front of us. And then maybe walk yourself out just a little bit longer. Close your eyes and relax and breathe. Just breathe. These are deep releasing breaths, not so much the core engaging breaths again. Gently release your arms back down to your sides. Bend the knees, place the feet flat on the floor, and then just roll to one side and press yourself up to seated. We're just going to come into a comfortable cross-legged position, sitting up nice and tall so you can kind of rock your sitting bones underneath you. Let's take a moment and stretch out the neck. So nice long spine, and then just bring your right ear over towards your right shoulder. And you are welcome to close your eyes and relax your face. And maybe we take that left arm out to the side and walk it out a little bit for a deeper stretch. And go ahead and walk the arm back in and lift the head. And let's take left ear over toward left shoulder. Release as much as you can. Really try to relax. And then maybe you walk that right arm out to the side just a little bit. And gently come up. So let's take the hands to the fronts of the shins, just below your knees. And I'll turn sideways just so you can see. You're going to take a cat-cow in a seated position. So use your hands to help deepen your poses. Inhale, let your tailbone tip back as you open up your chest and lift the gaze. And then exhale, scoop the tailbone under and round. Inhale, arc. Exhale, scoop and round. Good, keep that flow going. Let's do one more. And then we'll sit up nice and tall. And we'll just take our hands to our sides, or you can place them on your thighs. And all you're going to do is shift your rib cage side to side. Sometimes we'll do this in a warm-up, but it also feels really good at the end of a core-focused class. So your hips are still, both sitting bones are in the earth, pressing down into your mat, and you're just shifting your ribs side to side, and you should get a nice stretch running up from the hip into the back. Let's go one more time each way. And then you're going to combine the cat-cow with the shift to make a circle. So you're just going to take your torso and draw a circle with it in the air, or in space. So your hips are grounded, and then we're drawing that circle. And you can take a full breath for every circle, or you can take 2 breaths. Let's do one more in this direction. And then let's reverse it. Let's take it the other way. Nice big circle. And I should say, big circle if that feels good for you. If you notice a lot of pulling and tugging, make the circle a little smaller. Sometimes the low back can give more feedback than we prefer. Let's do one more. And then we'll come to center. We'll sit up nice and tall. We're just going to take the right arm, reach it over the head, and then walk the torso off to the left a little bit. Press that right hip down into the mat. Breathe. And then gently come up. And let's do the opposite. Let's take the left arm up over the head. Walk it out to the right. Good. Press that left hip down into the floor. Breathe into your open side. Come on up. We'll fold forward one more time. Maybe we have a little extra length in the spine this time. So instead of going into our limp ragdoll, maybe we reach a little bit more. So the tailbone is reaching behind, the crown of the head is reaching forward. Come up and just switch the leg that's in front, and then come back down and elongate as much as you can into this stretch. Go ahead and come up. And let's take the palms, flip them outward, sweep the arms behind, open up the chest. Breathe. Let's come out of it with a big breath. Inhale, arms up over the head. Exhale, arms widen down. Feel free to bring your hands to your thighs or to your sides. Sit up nice and tall and close your eyes. So you are absolutely welcome to lay down if you like. This is our relaxation at the end of class. We're going to come back to that big, deep releasing breath that we've been using. And if you'd like something to focus on as we rest, I suggest today maybe working your way down from your head to your feet and just gradually relaxing points of tension. Sometimes it can be helpful to inhale and actually create more tension by physically, purposefully tightening. And then on the exhale, give it a big whoosh to release. You can even exhale through your mouth there. So just take the time to work your way down your body if you choose. Spend as much time on this exercise as you like. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you later.